Another conversation coming from our SAFE class. This time it is coming from SAFE for Teams. And I would say this conversation comes in many of the training, even if they are Scrum trainings. And some of our leading SAFE training also had some kind of a partial conversation around it. It is around, can we finish the whole story, development and test in a given sprint? Or should we do one sprint development and next sprint test? Yeah. And now there are people having different reasons, and I'm not judging that they are right or wrong. They might be having valid concerns. Some sharing, we have dependencies, and dependency takes time to resolve. 2 weeks are not enough to do all these things, and by the time we finish it, the time is over. Now we need to give it to development. And if we just create one story out of development and test, then week is over, our work is not complete, and we don't get a velocity for it. That also a little tricky thing, and we want to show our velocity because management wants to also see the velocity is consistent. So say we need to figure out various things here. I am not saying that velocity has to be considered or not considered, but let's not say that what is good or what is bad. Think about what are the consequences of our decisions. So the simplest point which we are focusing here is shortening the feedback loop. If I run a 2 weeks development and then in the N+1, I do the testing, my feedback loop is becoming 4 weeks. Yeah? So it is just like I'm doing something and it will getting validated later. So if I'm doing something wrong, I will only come to know after minimum 3 weeks. That's the thing we are focusing on. If I want to release what work I have done, I need to wait for 3 weeks. I can't give incremental value because finishing is not happening. If I have to integrate with other teams, again, I need to wait for 3-4 weeks. So the whole process is we are increasing our feedback loop. And the increase in feedback loop may result into I take more time to fix the issues, which I discover later. It also delays my overall delivery and feedback taking. Now, the another risk is next sprint also remain very unpredictable. I want to plan something in my next sprint and I'm not clear what all will be coming out of my previous work. So I might be confused between forecasting the amount of work I can do in the next sprint. So overall, we need to figure it out and find out how can we optimize our story size or a work item size so that we can complete the whole cycle in a defined feedback duration. Yeah. So you call it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever sprint length you take, it should be sufficient to take the feedback completion rather than we find some workaround. We do part of the work here and part of the work later. So splitting the stories into smaller pieces, looking for some automation, looking for maybe creating a better team so that we resolve some of the dependencies, cross-skilling our people so that some of the dependency work can be done by our teams only, hands-off get reduced. All these could be the possible ideas which we can explore to reduce the feedback cycle or to make the thing happen in a given sprint. Sometime when I explained this, there was another argument came. If I do like this, so probably the development team will work for 2 weeks. After that, 1 week testing is working. And during the team, my development team resources are not utilized. Yeah, so that is also not a good idea. So I say, yeah, that's also a possibility. So again, we need to create small work item rather than running a waterfallish approach inside the sprint. I am sharing just general idea. You might know your situation far better and my ideas may look not feasible to you, but I am just saying that explore these things. See how soon we can start engaging all the pieces of the development. And it is like if I can finish one work and move the item to the next stage, I probably involve the people earlier. And those earlier involvement can ensure the good amount of a sprint time we were having overlap. So which means development and test activities were happening. There is a possibility in the last day or last 1.5 day, you may have a more finishing activities because you are not initiating the new ideas. Then as a development team member, also be involved in a finishing activities, maybe preparing for demo, integrating with other agile teams in case of scaled agile way of working, or maybe doing some kind of readiness by way of backlog refinement and exploration for the upcoming sprint. That kind of activities can also be done in the last 1 or 2 days. So see, whenever we take a finishing view, it has a little bit of overheads. I want to continue working, but the whole thing is, if I continue working, I'm not taking feedback also. So if I want to pause and take a feedback, I need to make things ready for the feedback also. I need to do some presentation for it. That may look little overhead, but at the same time, it is mitigating many risks and making my product consumable also to the other stakeholders. So I need to balance, yeah, and that's what we learn in a safe way of working. I need to economically find out my batch size. I need to balance my transaction cost and holding cost. And over a period of time, the overhead related to finishing, overhead related to small batch size, I need to reduce with the help of collaboration and automation so that I can incrementally deliver things and collect the feedback on an ongoing basis. Now, I'm sure this must be something which is troubling you. Maybe you have seen this happening in your project organizations and your Scrum way of working or safe way of working as well. And you might have adapted something. In the same training, we had fortunately a conversation where one participant came and says, we were doing that and we were facing all these difficulty which you are talking about. And nowadays we have made some adjustment and now we do everything in the same sprints. And that is what we are doing from the past few iterations. And then we make people speak. So we can say, okay, there are somewhere it is happening. I have other stakeholders also talking that they started like that, but gradually they moved to everything bringing into the first sprint or inside the sprint. So it's a usual journey, which I keep hearing from people. But if you have a specific journey which you want to share, and maybe the advantages and disadvantages of which you have faced of doing things in a same sprints, you may want to put it in the form of a comment. If you want to share your story in our podcast, then also you can come and we will talk about your story related to finishing everything in a given sprint.